Good evening, everybody. It's the Pollinator, and today is a special day for me, a landmark of sorts. Today I have 1 year and 6 months on testosterone, and the title of this video and the contents of it is probably going to be the toughest video or vid that I've made thus far, because it touches me very deeply and it may expose vulnerabilities about me that none of you have ever seen come from me. I talk about a lot of things. I'm very philosophical about a lot of things, but I'm very rarely personal about my life. So the title of this video is going to be Transmen and Lesbians. And it is not a coincidence that I not long ago realized that I was in the wrong relationship with a lesbian woman. And by the way, this isn't trashing lesbians in any way. I lived as a lesbian for over 40 years. So I'm just talking about my personal experiences with them and not necessarily any individual lesbian on the planet. I don't intend to come across that way if I do. But again, I had to end a relationship that I really thought, that I really wanted. And a lot of trans men get in relationships with women as lesbians, studs, and their relationship ends up going through the tough phases of transition, and they make it. But what I'm finding out more times than not is that they probably more relationships do not succeed when it comes to these lesbians, women realizing that they are men. There's just something about it, and maybe it will come out in what I'm about to say about my own experiences. So I hope I don't forget something too, because there's a lot of things that I wanted to say about this subject. I ended up getting in a conversation with a lady who's new to her man's transition, and it triggered the hell out of me. And I really didn't know why at the time. Actually, I did know why, I just didn't want to talk about it. And the reason why it triggered me was the very things that she said were things that I had experienced very painfully in my relationship with a lesbian. And after that, I actually ended that conversation rather quickly, because I realized that I was becoming very angry, and the anger wasn't directed at her as much as it was about my own grieving of that relationship and the things that went on in it. And for instance, when my fiance at the time would get angry at me, she would call me out of my gender. She'd call me a woman. And the first time it happened, I went ballistic about it. I really did. I said, "How dare you insult me that way?" And, you know, she knew what I was when she met me. Before she met me, she knew I was a trans man. And then a little later on in the relationship, we started having a really hard time. And then later on in the relationship, she looked at me with pure, I don't know if I could call it horror, but some kind of terror in her voice and in her eyes, and asked me if I was going to get top surgery. I hadn't thought about it much, but I was thinking about it. I just wasn't talking with her about it, because from the moment I met her, well, from the moment we moved in together, she moved in here with me, I never felt supported in my transition by her. So a lot of the things that were going on in my head, I was not expressing to her because it would, most of our attempts to discuss anything turned into arguments. So I looked at her, and I actually didn't know at the time whether I wanted top surgery or not. So I told her I didn't know if I would, but if I did, would she still want to be with me? Would she still love me as much? And her response was kind of non-committal. Like, yeah, sure. Sort of like that. And I asked other questions, about me transitioning and the way that I felt. And she said something, maybe not even 2 months ago, about she didn't care what I was, that she loved me. And I had a comeback for that, which was, is that like being colorblind? Because if it is, I don't want anything to do with it. How can someone be gender blind when I knew doggone well she was not gender blind, that she had a lot of issues with men? And let me tell you something, if you have issues with cisgender men, if you had abuse in your past, if you had a lot of stuff happen around cisgender men, which are men who are born, who identify with the birth that was assigned to them by doctors or their parents or whoever, they have a bio penis. At any rate, in my head, if you have a problem with them, you're going to have a problem with me, because I am a man. I have been a male since I was 5-6 years old, when I became aware of gender. I just didn't know I was the wrong one until I saw a penis for the first time. That's when I knew, something is missing on me. And then I just went into the tailspin of puberty and what that did to my body, and it totally screwed me up. But anyway, back on the subject of being in a relationship with a lesbian, she had a lot of issues with them, and she wanted to pretend I wasn't anything at all, no gender. Actually, the way I really felt is like she was pretending I was a man while thinking I was still a woman because of my body. I mean, that's just the way I felt. And if I began to alter it, and stay with her with the attitude that she had, that I would become, the relationship would end. And so, getting back to the conversation I had with a lady, somehow we got onto the discussion of bottom surgery. And she said that if her trans man had bottom surgery, that she could be supportive, but she could not be with him. And I'm not going to tell you the status of that relationship, but it is not, she's new to everything. The thing is, it triggered that conversation that I had with my fiance about top surgery. It just totally triggered me. It was like, what the hell is that? I mean, what kind of support is that? To say, if I do what is going to make me comfortable in my own skin, that it will end a romantic relationship, a marriage, a partnership, that it would just end it, said to me that in many, many ways that woman still sees her trans man as a woman. And as long as the trans man has woman genitals, that she's fine with it. I had a problem with that. Oh my God, I had a problem with that. I ended up putting something in my group that tried to educate lesbians about us. And right now in my life, I'm to the point where I will not date another lesbian. She can be cool as hell. She can be everything that I want. But if she's got man issues, I don't even think I want to get close to that, or even find out about that, or work through that with her. If I was in a relationship where our communication was healthy, I could have done that. I could have done that with my ex-fiance, but our communication was not healthy. Everything was an argument. And so, interestingly enough, I, at the last minute, decided to go to a FTM group that I go to in the Atlanta Metro. And it was about relationships. And every man in there that identified as a male said that they would not get involved with a lesbian. And some of them that were in relationships with lesbians had to end them because of their rigidity and their it's not like a sexuality to them. It's literally an identity that some of them will not give up for anything. It melts into feminism. It melts into a lot of things that say, we don't like men, we don't want men. We can be your friend, but that's as far as it'll go. And, if you start to sound like a man, look like a man, and whatnot, we're going to have a problem with you. And then I saw in a group a post where a guy was talking about telling his girlfriend or wife, I can't remember which, that he was going to have bottom surgery, and she dumped him. Funny, she dumped him for a cis male with a bio penis. A man that was born with a penis. I thought that was really crazy, and so did a lot of other people in that post. And then I thought, maybe she wanted children, biological children, not adoptive or some sperm donors' children or whatnot. Maybe that's what she wanted. I don't really know. All I know is that we talk about this stuff all the time in female-to-male groups. There are female-to-male groups dedicated to surgeries, and they're talking about it all the time in there too. But do we feel comfortable talking about that with every kind of woman? Not anymore, I don't. And because that relationship ended, a lesbian woman, and I date cisgender women who were who identify with the gender they were assigned at birth. I'm not completely ruling out a trans woman. I'm just ruling out ones that have not had both top surgery and bottom surgery. But dang, I lost my train of thought. Oh well, I'll move on to the next thing. So, the group that I went to, where everybody in there said that they had problems being who they are around lesbian women, that there was a level of acceptance that wasn't there for us, and that it almost seems like we're fetishes to them, something to try out, but not to be in a long-term relationship. Now, is that 100%? No, it isn't. Because I do know couples that the woman still identifies as a lesbian and the trans man is a trans man, and they're doing just fine. But that is not the rule. That is the exception to the rule. A lot of people don't make it through these kinds of relationships where one of their partners is transitioning. It's just not happening as much as the successes are happening. So I'm still in therapy. I will be in therapy for a long time, simply because there's other things going on in my life that I need to deal with. But I told my therapist a few weeks ago that, maybe even more than that, that I will not date a lesbian. I won't. I will date heterosexual women, maybe bisexual women, although I'm not quite sure about them either, because, you know, when they get, if they get the itch to switch, I don't want to be in the middle of that. You know, if they find that they want to have sex with a woman, I don't want to compete. I'll be 60 years old this year, and I'm not out there to play the field, and I don't want the field played on me either. And that's the only reason why I would be nervous or hesitant to date a bisexual woman. And then there's these fears that I have of dating cisgender women, heterosexual women, and we talked about that a little bit in the group too, that when to disclose that we are trans men, which is something that's been going on in therapy, and I'm glad that I got to hear a bunch of guys talk about it, that, you know, it's basically, unless there is a spark or a connection, or the both of us find we want to take it to the next level, there's no reason to disclose it. And there's a lot of people, cisgender people, heterosexual cisgender people, that are really, really mad about that. I'm not going to disclose the site that I saw a lot of conversation about this going on, but they were livid and basically over trans women that they did not know were trans women until they tried to go a step further, and then they were told. They felt like we should tell everybody on the planet what we are before they even get a chance to talk to us, get a chance to know our heart, get a chance to know our mind, get a chance to fall in love with us, with this, not these parts, okay? As far as I didn't comment on that site because I knew I would get blown right out of the water, but I wanted to say, you know what, y'all can kiss my ass. That's dangerous. It's not even necessary unless we're going to have sex. And of course, the ones that were complaining the loudest were cisgender men. Some women jumped in there and said, yeah, we think they should disclose right away too. They should put it on their profile that they're transgender. Well, guess what? That's not going to happen. Our safety is at risk. And I tell you what, I'm not going to wait until I'm in a compromising position to let somebody know that I am a transgender male. I'm not going to wait for that time, because that could be dangerous. I will, if, you know, we date a few times and I like her and she likes me, and we want to take it to another level, I will decide when, where, and how I disclose that to her. Otherwise, it's none of her business, basically. And I kind of got away from something that I was talking about, but I just wanted to say that, you know, nothing personal to the lesbian community, but y'all don't understand us. You don't educate yourselves. Half of y'all don't know how to support us. You don't know how to accept that we're men in the wrong body. And that we don't necessarily operate like cisgender males either. I have a level of, I don't think like a woman, but I have a level of understanding of women because of how long I tried to live like one. That a lot of cis males don't have. But that doesn't mean I'm not a man. It just means I have a deeper understanding of what it is to be a woman in this society than a man that's never lived or was socialized as a woman, which takes me back to the last video that I made. But, you know, letting go of that woman, of that lesbian woman, was one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my life. Emotionally painful. Because as I looked back through the relationship and all the... Oh! Last thing that happened before I said, that's it, I'm not going to deal with this anymore, is that we were... One more time, I was expressing my needs and wants and desires. And it turned into an argument. Which every single time I did that, it turned into an argument. So I got a little heated and I said, girl, bye. And she said, men don't say that. I said, oh, yes, they do. And she said, what? Who? Trans men? I knew right then and there, oh no, this is not going any further. This cannot go any further. She's had over a year, up close and personal, to accept where I'm coming from. I've had people accept where I'm coming from that weren't intimate partners, but accepted me immediately. So what the hell was that? She did not transition with me. She was not trying to keep up. She was not trying to educate herself. She was not trying to understand me. She wanted it to be all about understanding her when I already did. Basically, I fell in love with her representative. And that woman never returned. That person that I fell in love with, that I proposed to, she didn't return. She wasn't coming back. And I had to let go of my wanting more than anything to be with her. I mean, we did have some good times, but not the type of times that can build a long-term relationship. I know what that looks like. I know what it sounds like. I know what it's like because I've been in a couple. So I just knew that it wasn't there between her and I. And so, yeah, I'm on a couple of dating sites. Oh, that's what I was going to forget. I'm on a few dating sites, and I've got this fear in the back of my mind that they're not going to be, you know, once they find out I do not have a naturally born attached penis, they're not going to want anything to do with me. And that's just an insecurity. I have such a dynamic, outgoing, outrageous personality that is what is going to stick out most. Not my genitals. They're not even going to fucking know unless I tell them. So, you know, it's just one of these fears that I have in the back of my mind that, oh shit, you know, if I really do like her, and she really does like me, and I disclose it, and I get cut off, that's going to be painful. And I'm not looking forward to that kind of pain. I'm an upbeat kind of guy. I'm positive most of the time, and I don't like pain. I'm going through enough pain over losing very close family members in a short period of time. 3 in 6 months, and they weren't the only ones. I mean, there were 2 or 3 other ones that began to leave Earth after October, around October of last year. So I'm having a hard time with grieving as a man. I mean, there's a lot of things about it that are new to me because my feelings are different and have changed, and I don't know necessarily what I'm doing or how to do this. But, I need a woman that, this is a hard topic, that accepts me for who I am. Lock, stock, and barrel. Period. Not somebody who's going to say, I don't see your gender at all. I don't want that. I want her to see me as a man and not have a problem with that. That's what I want. Fuck genderblind. Fuck colorblind. I don't date white women for that reason. Because, well, I don't right now. Or maybe never again. Because there are things about this colorblind that anytime anyone that is not black says that, it tells me something about them and their level of awareness and consciousness that they don't want to freaking think about my race. They don't want to think about my plight. They don't want to feel what I feel. They don't want anything to do with that. So then they throw out this, I'm colorblind stuff. Really? Society doesn't see us without our race. We cannot be stealth about our race. We cannot be in the closet about our race. It is out front and there across this world that if a person comes along and says they don't see my color, I'm on high alert. I'm immediately suspicious because the rest of society does, so they better, or they're not going to know how to deal with it when an issue arises around my race. They're not going to know how to deal with it at all if they're running around pretending I'm not black when I am. I want to be appreciated for the color that I am, not have it ignored. I want to be appreciated as a transgender man. As a man, period. Not have it ignored or have somebody pretend I'm a woman. What an insult. What a crime to get me to fall in love with you and then let it eke out at some later point in time that I really don't accept you as a man. Be honest with me. Be upfront. Don't lie. Don't pretend. I would rather have understood these things all of it, month 1, than month 13. Part of it was my seeing the red flags and not letting go. But the other part was her being completely dishonest anytime I tried to have a conversation with her about it. And that is why I don't even want to have that conversation. And why I won't date a lesbian if I can avoid it. I may not even know. But 9 times out of 10, I will be able to. They're very vocal and very proud of being lesbians. And that's okay. I was too when I thought I was one. But as a lesbian, I dated all different kinds of women, and I didn't hold it against them that they were heterosexual or bisexual or lesbian. I didn't care. I dated all across the spectrum. Now, yeah, I'm still grieving that relationship, because everything that well, okay, I'm not going to say any more about it, but I don't want to diss her. I just want to say that it was one of the most painful relationships I've ever been in, if not the most. Letting go was the hardest, and it changed my mindset forever about who I will and will not date, or who I will and will not fall in love with, and who I will and will not marry. So that I actually wanted to get on here and talk about something completely different, but I told the people in my group on Facebook that I would make a video about this, and so now I'm just playing catch up with the things that I do want to talk about, and those are this is me in the raw, folks. This is the pollinator grieving and in pain over a lesbian relationship. And it wasn't a lesbian relationship. She was a lesbian. I'm heterosexual male. So the relationship was anything but a lesbian relationship. But I'm not sure she thought that. Any rate, I hope everybody has a blessed day, a blessed week ahead, and the pollinator out.